Okay, so I think we are live now. Let me also do something. Okay, okay. This one. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can hear me clearly, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wait. Okay, great. First thing, thank you so much for squeezing out time. The students might be joining, and a couple of people have already joined in, but they're all excited and have a bunch of questions to smoothen up the process. What we have done is we have tried to pick up some of the questions which were a very frequent one, and I'm just going to be sharing it with you, and you can just go ahead and answer them for the students in the session. Okay, just a sec. Yeah. So before we actually dive deeper into the discussion part, Parth, I would leave up to you to introduce yourself. I mean, just go ahead. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, sure. So right now I'll go from so right now I'm operations engineer in ISRO. Previous to
Yeah.
that, I had completed my bachelor's of technology in aerospace engineering from Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, which is a college in Trivandrum, Kerala. It's managed by Department of Space. Previous to that, I was in Madhya Pradesh. I have born in Madhya Pradesh and also brought up in Madhya Pradesh.
Parth, I'm really sorry, but I think you're lagging a bit.
Due
By
to
any chance, can
the
we fix it?
is it fine now?
Yeah, I mean, it happened on the go. I'm not sure. Please continue. If it comes up again, I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I will also try to have my hotspot ready in case the Wi-Fi is not working. Just a second.
Yeah.
Give me a second. I'll connect with the hotspot.
Sure.
Is it fine now?
So far, it's better. Please continue.
Yeah. So I have spent most of my time childhood in a place called Vidisha, Madhya Pradesh. Studied there in school and then prepared for my JEE. I joined IST from the third batch in 2009. At that time, IST used to take through JEE. In between, they started their own entrance exam, and then again, right now we are back with JEE mains and advanced. Yeah, that is in brief about me. About apart from work, I am also a meditation trainer and practitioner from past more than 10 years now. So that sort of keeps a balance in my life while going about things in my professional and other material aspects of life. Yeah, that would be all from my side. If there's anything, please feel free to ask.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, how did you come to know about, because as a student, you have a lot of confusions. Where should I go, right? The stereotypical or the cliche, I would say, or the how things are moving is to go ahead, do engineering, right? Was that the case when you were planning after 12th, or you were already sorted ki, I need to go for aerospace and I need to try and all those things? How did
No,
aerospace came into your life?
yeah. So I remember I came to know about J in class 9th when my one of my teacher, I think she was my chemistry teacher, she was asking all the students what you want to do after 10th. And I was pretty last in that class to answer that. And before that, a lot of people have answered that they want to go to IIT. And I was not aware what IIT was all about at that time. I come from a very small town, so there's a lot of lack of exposure down there. So then I came to know, okay, that's the place I think where best people go and you get the best of education. So I thought that, okay, I'll go to IIT. I was not at all sure about any particular branch I wanted to be in at that time. That was in class 9th. Even after 10th, when I started preparing for JEE, I was not sure which branch to join. But when I got my JEE rank and I was just talking to some senior at that time, after getting a JEE rank, I started talking to people about what kind of branches do what kind of work and what is involved. And then I figured out that IST would be a good option for me. And then there were 3 branches at that time in IST: aerospace engineering, avionics, and physical sciences. And I was talking to the faculties during the orientation program, and I was trying to understand what happens. And there were a couple of my friends who have joined IST before me, so I got some guidance from them. And by looking at the curriculum, sort of cursory look, I figured out that, okay, aerospace would be something I would enjoy rather than doing the other 2 branches. So yeah, all in all, that's how I came to know about aerospace. There was a little bit of attraction towards the rocket side, which comes into aerospace engineering, like how you make a rocket, how does a rocket fly. So yeah, that was definitely a sort of major attraction while choosing it.
Awesome. So I can say you were one of initially you were one of those unsorted people, and eventually you were trying to make out your way and figuring it out how things are working, what you should be choosing and whatnot. Yeah.
Yes.
Now the exciting part is, how did your college look like? I mean, how was your experience with college? Learning, faculties, like a lot of people have this thing ki, the teachers are not teaching us properly. Sometimes students are blaming college, sometimes they're like, there's a lot of things that happens while you are in the journey of those 4 years, right? How did that look for you? I mean, was it the same as the regular students coming from tier 2, tier 3 places, or is it like the atmosphere and the way it's taught in IIST is a different to what's happening right now?
Yeah, so for me, so there was a big movement for me. Like I was moving from Bhopal, sort of Vidisha, to Trivandrum, which is like in another part of the country down south. The culture was very different. The language was very different. So it took me some time, around a semester, to get adjusted to all that. I was sort of homesick in those first few months because I moved down like long distance from my home. Regarding IST, it was fairly a new college. We were 3rd batch, so there was not at all a single batch who has graduated before us and has been placed, or there were sort of alumni. It was so there was a lot of things to be done from the student side, like setting up a culture, what the college would look like, what kind of things we want to do. And so there was a lot of flexibility to do all these things apart from the academics. For the academics part, so a lot of faculty were drawn from ISRO. There were many senior faculty brought in from IITs and other colleges of like other top colleges of India. So that was something which helped us, especially in my branch. The faculties were very, very good. The facilities, also the labs and the support we were getting from ISRO for aerospace engineering was quite significant. So that helped us in shaping our academic lives. Apart from that, I was heavily invested into the extracurricular also, like organizing fest, doing a lot of things in the college, because there was a lot of scope to do a lot of things since the college was new. And it has to be noted down that our college was fairly small as compared to IITs. The batch size was around 156 at that time, and only 2 more batches were there before us. So we were like a close-knit community of around 450 as compared to an IIT, which takes around 700 to 800 students in one go. So that brought a lot of good networking opportunities or relationships with seniors, and later on when our juniors joined in. So we formed a very close-knit community at IST, at least at the time I was there. So that helped in shaping my life a lot, apart from the academics and extracurriculars which we are doing.
Got it. So if we have to just conclude it, networking is something really important while you are in the college, probably because that is something which is actually going to be helping you out when you move ahead in your career.
Yeah,
or do you want to add?
definitely. Definitely. I would not call it networking. Networking, like sometimes it feels like a very commercial term in that way. But building organic relationships, if you have particular interest in someone, what someone is doing, or from which part of the country he or she has come, what was their life about, what they want to do in future. If you're organically and genuinely interested in knowing people, I think those
Mhm.
kind of relationships built definitely on their own, and then you can carry it forward by investing in them. So yeah, but it's an important part, like either you are from engineering background or from any other background, while and many of the time we don't come to know about it in the initial days of engineering, but when you start graduating, when you come into the job market, you understand the importance of networking, to know people, how does it help in getting opportunities and your foot in the door in many places.
Got it. Got it. Nice. I mean, there's nothing else I could suggest for the people who are actually are doing engineering at this particular moment, and maybe because I know people. Specifically tier 2 tier 3 are the people who at some point of time they start blaming the system, they start blaming the teachers, the universities and the colleges and all those things. But at the end you'll have to understand if this is really want to do moving ahead, finding out the right connection around you, and at this particular moment there are so many ways to do it, like maybe the LinkedIn. There are so many channels, internet, right, where you can find the people who would be willing to help you, right, in guiding you in many ways. Yeah. Moving on to the next part, I'm actually going to be picking up these questions that were posted by students, so eventually the objective gets done. So the first question that I have, the Varun has asked three questions. One is related to life, then experience, and then challenges. So picking up the first, that is life, he says, after achieving so much in your life, which is like dream for others, what are your future goals or priorities in life?
Future goals, I think it is still evolving. There's a lot to learn at ISRO also right now. There are a lot of things which, there are a lot of projects coming in. And if you see the overall global market in the space industry, it's also evolving a lot in the startup space, a lot of things being done in the business side of space industry. I don't have like very laid down paths right now. I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now, but I do see to contributing in a more focused and maybe more broader way in the coming days, and more involved maybe with the private sector to understand what's happening with the space industry outside ISRO. Yeah, that is something I have in my mind right now. But yeah, it's evolving because opportunities come day in, day out these days, and you have to just be aware. So I don't have very rigid or very focus point on it yet, as of yet. Maybe it may change in a couple of months, but yeah, right now, yeah, I'm pretty much enjoying what I'm doing right now.
And that's how naturally it works, right? You are enjoying the process, you are into exploring it, and that helps you understand what eventually you're going to be doing next as a next step, right?
True.
So for the question about life you had, Varun, I hope you got the answer. Talking about experience, he says, according to your experience, what is the most important thing student like Varun should have or should learn to be successful in all the aspects of life: health, wealth, relation, and career?
Uh, so one thing which I have realized not very earlier in my career life, but right now I'm realizing it is being curious about what's happening around you, what's happening with you, and I think that applies to all aspects of the life: health, wealth, career, and relationship. To understand yourself better in a way, so that you can work on that. My basic understanding has been that if you don't know where you are, you will never be able to go where you want to go, even if you know where you want to go, because you don't have a clear reference point of what is the distance you have to travel, where you want to reach. So if you have that sort of clarity in your mind that, okay, I am right now here, I don't know these, or I know these things, but I want to reach here after, say, X amount, X period of time, and this is the gap I have to build. So that helps you in being rationalistic about your approach, and not just being living in a dream world that, okay, I can be there and I can do all these things. So yeah, being self-aware, being conscious, being curious, and also disciplined. This thing has come a little later in my life. Being disciplined about what you want to do, taking out time, consciously practicing it, consciously, deliberately putting out time, because things won't happen by chance. So you have to prepare for what is coming for you in life, and these are mostly things which you cannot just expect that these things will come. So yeah. So I think to summarize, it would be being self-conscious and self-aware, and also being disciplined in life.
Okay, great, awesome. So, it's something like be curious, disciplined, and consistent. I
Consistent, yeah.
think, yeah, that will take you and will solve a lot of things that you are actually looking for. Yeah. Okay, this one is a bit kind of like, I don't know. Let me just put this question straight to you and see
Sure.
how what is. So he says, which is more better to work in, ISRO or Airbus, according to you, and how can he come there as a CS engineer and work there?
Okay, so the thing about working in any place, it's not about ISRO or Airbus. It could be Google, Amazon, or XYZ, or even working for, say, CipherSchools. It largely depends on what you want out of that job. Some people do it for money, and that's totally fine. I don't discriminate, or I don't look down upon it. If you want it for money, you better work for it. No issues about it. Whatever company suits you. Some people work it for the learning experience. That, okay, I want to learn something new. I want to learn how the operations work. I want to learn how the overall architecture work for a particular company or for a particular product. Some others have a motivation of, say, higher studies. So a particular brand name would look good on their CV or resume to go upward or to step up. So there could be like 100,000 reasons for 100,000 different people. So the choice of a company, particular company, depends. And there are, at certain times, there are only circumstances, like you're getting a job right now, it is not paying what you expect, but you need money, and you have to work, and there's no other opportunity in your hand, so you just take it. You don't bother too much about what company. And in India particularly, there's very less sort of promotion of those type of things in our college days and school life, where people do part-time jobs sort of a thing, working for a McDonald's, working for a KFC, or working for a Pizza Hut, or delivering just as a student, which is largely done by a lot of people, a lot of students in other countries, in Western countries. So yeah, coming back to the question about like Airbus or ISRO, it totally depends on what and how you want to contribute, and you will be able to better know about talking to people who are working in these companies, because there would be very less people who have worked at both the places and give you a fair comparison. It's similarly, like if I start comparing how is IST against IIT Bombay. I have studied in IST, I can give you my inputs about IST, but I have never studied in IIT Bombay, so I cannot compare how IST fares in comparison to IIT Bombay. So it's similar for companies. So it's better to talk to people, understand your own motivations, and then you would be able to figure out what would be a better fit. Regarding computer science, you have a scope in, like, I can talk about ISRO. So there's definitely a lot of scope. A lot of things happen on that front, especially with the new technologies coming, quantum computing and all those things. If you have a fair interest, like with computer science, if you're interested in physics, AI, machine learning, things are evolving right now. You have to understand space is a very heritage-driven sector where a lot of things have to be proved once we are launching a satellite or a rocket. We cannot just recall to repair it, like say for a bike or for a car. If it is launched by a company, if they find a fault, they recall it. Okay, we want to change things, and they call the whole batch of cars or bikes. But with satellites, you cannot do that. Once it is launched, it's out in the orbit, and if it's functioning, it's functioning. If it's not functioning, it's not functioning. You cannot do anything right now. Maybe the later stage technologies come up to do certain aspects of to change those aspects of satellite. But so. So things change in ISRO with time. It takes time because you have to prove that heritage. You have to prove that the particular system is performing well on the ground and it's good enough to be launched in this space. So keeping that in your background, keeping that in your mind, you can make a conscious choice. But I would always suggest talking to at least 4 to 5 people from both the backgrounds to understand. One single person, like if I am very bullish or very in favor of ISRO, I will talk only positive points and may not be able to give you both the coins, both sides of the coins for ISRO. It's better to talk to like at least 4 or 5 people to get an understanding. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of scope and opportunities these days to connect with people from any background.
Got it. Nice. Okay, so the challenges part that he wished to understand from you is what is the biggest challenge in your life and how you fight it, and what was the learning out of that challenges?
I think biggest challenge for me, as I was talking about my IST experience in initial semesters when I was homesick, was I think adapting to changes. That was one of the, and I still face it. I cannot say that I've overcome it like fairly or largely. I still face it, but I think what I'm learning through those challenges is that you have to take at times one day at a time and just go through that and understand what is happening and how you can cope up with it in your best possible way. And also understanding change from the larger perspective of things. Like when I was in IST at that time, it felt like this is the place I would be there for my life, but it was not the truth. And so understanding change in that perspective, seeing the bigger picture, and understanding where this particular part of the puzzle is fitting and how you can contribute and make the most of it helps you in adapting to the situations quickly. And this is, I think, ever demanding and skills sort of to have for any job you go out in the market, because things are changing very rapidly. 20-30 years down back, we don't have computers the way we are using computers right now, and we don't never know what will happen in the next 20-30 years, and most of us will be in our prime to do a lot of stuff. So adapting to those changes, being open to those experiences helps you a lot in navigating through challenges.
Got it. It's more like be dynamic and keep on accepting the things that are coming your way. And I feel that's the reason why when you're actually applying for the companies, right? Any company, be it XYZ, they're more testing on, they're trying to understand how good you are with your problem solving skills rather than focusing on any specific tech stack, like how good you are with deep learning, machine learning, or any tech, right? So, and that problem solving skills is actually, tells a lot about the particular student, and eventually makes the person be dynamic with whatever technology is coming in his or her way and be able to solve it as and when he's facing that. Yeah. So I think that's a very, very valid point. The next question is from Jitendra. He has these entrepreneurial type of question. So his questions are like, I don't have very good academic records, but still, what can I do to be part of ISRO? That's
okay.
One part of the question.
Yeah. So ISRO, while posting the career opportunities, they posted very clearly. I think they need more than 65% or 75%. There's some particular criteria. I don't know what it is right now, but for every job that is being posted on ISRO's portal, they mention it very clearly. So that has to be there, because otherwise your application would not be valid at all. So unfortunately, we cannot do anything on that part. But yeah, if you are like just 66% and the requirement was 65, a lot of things will depend on how you perform in the interview at that time, because those are the questions they will be asking you from your interest, or from your subjects of what you have learned in your engineering time, which were your favorite subjects, and then they will go deeper. There will be subject matter experts sitting in that interview and asking you questions on that. So having a command over your subjects matter more once you qualify that initial criteria. They won't be seeing that you got 80 or 90 or 100. If you're not able to explain those things or translate those scores into sort of experiential learning, where you can explain them why things are happening, that would be, I think, key. And that is key for most of the jobs, not only ISRO. ISRO, definitely being a government organization, has to follow some rules. And these are part of those rules, like you have to have some minimum percentage. But apart from that, if you apply to any private sector company, most of them don't bother so much about your percentages or background. They just want to see, as you were mentioning about the problem solving skills, how much learning you have in your 4 years of experiences, and what subjects you have learned and how you have done in them through the interview process. So yeah, that would be the answer, I think.
Yeah, so I believe you rightly mentioned, I mean, for talking about the private, it's more like how good you are with your skills. But when you talk about the government exams, percentage does matter up to some extent. The reason is because there's so much of crowd who's applying for the same position, and there has to be a way to figure out and filter out people, right? So if you cross that benchmark, after that it's all about the niche expert that you're applying for, and that's which works. Yeah. Moving on to his next question is how to start any rocket-based research without investing a lot of money and being very creative. I leave that to you.
Okay, so see, there are a lot of resources right now in India. There are a lot of startups working in the field of space, and if you want to do something, I would really suggest you to do an internship with them. They would be more open for interns because they also need manpower, and if you have that sort of inclination and understanding and interest, I think most of them would be very happy to have you on board. To name a few, there's Bellatrix Aerospace, which is working out of Bangalore. They're developing propulsion related elements for rockets, and also working on a sort of a space taxi. There's Skyroot. So there are these companies or startups which are working in the field of rockets. So the best way I would suggest is to do an internship, because then they have their own resources, they have their own facilities where you can just jump in and learn from them. Other ways definitely includes internship with ISRO, but these are a little bit challenging to get because again, a lot of people apply and then there are only limited spots. So that could be a little bit competitive thing to get into, but I'm pretty sure these startups would be more than happy to have you. Apart from that, there's a lot of the from the time I graduated till now, like in the span of, let's say, 8 to 9 years, there are a lot of online resources which are available very free of cost. So if you want to have a look on YouTube, you'll get a lot of resources understanding what is happening, how things are happening. There are a lot of papers available you can read through and understand about rocket science more in detail. And then the creativity will come mostly from having a broad experience of things, and then you can understand and see what is happening in the market, how you can bridge a gap if there is a problem existing, how you can attack it and solve it and make it sort of a viable product in that way. So yeah, but I would highly recommend to approach one of these startups and try for an internship and see how you really like the work on the ground, because with the space, it's very fascinating to see from outside, but when you get into things, these are difficult challenges to solve. There are problems which need a lot of rigor and enthusiasm, which most of the time with many people die down when they really jump into that space. So it's better to get an understanding and then choose your path to go about it.
Got it. So to summarize, Jitendra, your answer, quite a lot of time you have mentioned about money, right? You said ki, without investing a lot of money, without spending a money, how can I start working on projects? So to add that, I'll give one of my examples. So initially when I started working during my college days, I'm not an expert on that, but when I started working with these microcontrollers, which you say AVR or Arduino and all these things, right? Initially, I thought I should be buying those entire microcontroller, but later I realized that not necessarily you have to spend that amount to buy the microcontroller. Even if you have a breadboard, and you can just spend the amount only on the pieces that are required, right? Because microcontroller obviously will have a lot of things which might not be useful to you in the long run, right? So if you're planning to build those projects, figure out what are the projects and what are the things required, and if there's an alternate way you can figure out for building that, right? Maybe these components can be built in-house, right? So you don't have to go and buy the expensive pre-assembled component and hardware to be able to build those rockets and all these things, miniature projects that you're planning to. So that will really help you. So that will only come to you if you are clear with the fundamentals of whatever electronic product that you are planning to work upon. Yeah. Before we move on to the FAQ, I think Kavya has been requesting us this question, please. And she says, how you have felt while working towards your goal and after achieving it? Like, is it like, Parth, I would say, like when you're going for a trekking, right? And when you achieve to that height and you feel like, this is, so has that moment come into your life? Like, how is it?
I think with life, there's no like one big single goal, especially when you talk about the materialistic life or professional. You achieve one and then you start seeking the other thing. Okay, what more I could do now? I was attending a session last year, and this gentleman was talking about this. That there are a lot of mountains, and once you reach at the top of one mountain, you feel good for a particular instant or for some period of time. You feel okay, you have achieved something, you have contributed towards something, and then you start looking for different challenges, because that's how the mind has evolved throughout like millions of years. How the human beings see life. So yeah, you definitely feel good. You feel that if you have put your hard work and sort of dedication, and if you get something out of it, you definitely feel very content, very good, very happy about it. But then life goes on. Like it's not like you have just achieved one thing and then it's done. You start seeking other things, what more you can contribute to, what better you can make around you. Or if you have some financial goals, if you wanted to get suppose x amount of money, if you have got that, you start working for, okay, if I can get y more, can I help the society? uh, and things like that. So depending on those things, we can see what you feel. But yeah, that initial feeling of being content definitely follows when you reach some goal.
So I hope, Kavya, you got the answer. Another question, Prashant, Parth, is from Ayush. It says, does working for different goals simultaneously considered fruitful?
Okay. So it depends on the kind of goals you have. Like if you have different goals, like there was a question before, we were talking about four different aspects of life: health, wealth, relationship, and career. If you have four goals in all four aspects, working, you definitely have to work simultaneously. If I want to have a particular fitness level, I cannot just say that I'll leave my job and everything and just focus on the fitness aspect. You have to integrate it in your life on a daily basis. Same goes with wealth also. Like if you are into investment or trading, uh, uh, like if you are until unless like you're 100% full-time trader, if you were just want to have some investment, you cannot just say, okay, I'll take 1 year off and just invest money. Same goes with your work also, profession. But in a particular profession, if suppose you want to achieve something, suppose you're starting as an engineer and then you are going to an analyst level, there definitely would be a progression sort of thing. There's a ladder that you reach there, and then from there you go to the other. uh, so simultaneously definitely it's possible, but it depends on the kind of goals you're setting for yourself and in what context they are being talked about.
Got it. Nice. So the next question that we have says from Juni Patel. She says, when did you first thought of becoming an aerospace engineer? I think this was answered initially. And how you started preparing for it from the very first day. I think this was also answered in some form or the other. But let's say if you want to summarize,
Yeah, so
Parth.
summary at like for us, it was engineering again in India. If you want to get into a top tier college, you have this IIT JEE and mains. So those were the things. Once you apply there, then you figure out the option. So I never thought before writing the JEE exam that I want to be an aerospace engineer, or in a particular field I want to go deep down. It was just after the engineering thing, I started figuring out things, and a lot of things from my past experiences and some memories related back to the space field, which helped me connect those dots and then just go about when the opportunities opened up for me.
Got it. Got it. A lot of questions were asked. People who wants to know how does a typical day of yours looks like at ISRO. I mean, how things happens.
Yeah, so in ISRO, where I'm working right now, I'm working as a thermal engineer and in project management roles. So we work for projects, and my primary focus are on satellite projects. So the day usually goes about when we go reach office, we check the mails, we check the schedule. That okay, if there are any meetings scheduled, we start preparing for them. Or if it is already prepared, we just summarize those things for ourselves before attending the meeting with our inputs, checking out at the satellite level what work has been completed, what more can be done today as per the schedule. And then there would be some in situ requirements required by the management. They want to report, they want to see what's happening to a particular file, how long how far it has been processed. If there are some other meetings, sometimes there are meetings with vendors, internal meetings, not very structured in that way. Like I cannot just give you an example of a day and then you can just replicate every other day. It's very dynamic because things are very dynamically done at different project levels. Sometimes you're involved with multiple projects, so there will be multiple requirements. So you have to just figure out which way to prioritize, talk to your bosses, take their guidance, your seniors, and understand how things are moving around, and delegate the work wherever possible. Do the work yourself where you have to do and go. And yeah, that's how things progress usually.
Got it. So thank you so much. Before we move on to the questions in the chat, I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
Being into a place where you are continuously looking the things beyond the planet, the current planet we are, that's Earth, right? First question is, have you ever thought or got a chance to experience ZeroG on Earth?
No, not yet. I'm not sure if India has that facility yet, because the astronauts who were being trained for Gaganyaan, they have gone to Russia for those sort of training, because we don't have an active astronaut program yet. But maybe with time, when it happens, we would have our own facility. So we don't. If I remember correctly, and I may be wrong, but as far as I know, there's no facility in India to go for a ZeroG experience as of yet.
Got it. Any do you look so what happens is, when I look to ISRO or NASA or now these places, right, the image that I get in my head is of the space, right? So have you ever thought maybe you want to go ahead and experience the space, given a chance? Just out of curiosity, I want to understand, is it just me who who have these thoughts, or do you also have thought of sometime going ahead and experiencing the space?
Yeah, no. So definitely, if given an opportunity, I would be the first one to jump for that. Who would not like to go out in this space and have that sort of extraterrestrial experience, going out of the Earth and seeing the Earth, and especially when you see those images being captured from various astronauts on board the International Space Station, you are always amazed and wonder to how it would look like if you go at that particular location and see Earth or the space from there. So definitely, given an opportunity, I would definitely jump for it.
Yeah, so this was once I think I came across a YouTube video wherein the person was sent out in the space, and he was asked to make a free fall from there, right? And he had this camera on his helmet and around. So it really made me feel like I could experience whatever he was going through. And the moment he jumped, I mean, that was another level thing. So ever since then, I've thought maybe if I could get a chance somewhere in the future, or if I could collect enough amount to be able to experience all these things, I would definitely love to do that. But okay, so that summarizes that I am normal, right?
Yeah, I think most of us in our generation would be more than happy and excited to be a part of such an event.
Got it. So we have questions from Nikit, if I'm saying it right. So do you recommend any other colleges to pursue aerospace besides IST?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a lot of colleges these days which offer aerospace engineering degree. Apart from even IITs, there are, I think, 4 IITs: IIT Bombay, IIT Chennai, Kanpur, and Kharagpur. These 4 also offer aerospace engineering. There are some NITs. There are a lot of private colleges which have come up which offer aerospace engineering. And one fact I would like to tell all the people here: there are a lot of so there's this misconception in many students' mind that in ISRO only people from IIT and top colleges join. It's not like that. Most of the people are from like regional colleges or from particularly state colleges, even private colleges. But what they are good at it, they are very good at it. What they are doing. So if there's an electrical engineering coming from the ranking basis or from the sort of distinction basis, if you see like maybe tier 3, tier 2 college, but the kind of understanding they have or the kind of command they have over their subject and like sort of expertise they bring in, that helps them define their career. Nobody asks you in ISRO that, okay, are you from IIT or are you from NIT or are you from a regional college or are you from a private college? So, and there are a lot of people who have not done aerospace engineering, especially if you see the profile of our chairmen or directors of various centers, you'll come to know that many of them have done mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, which are very basic like level of branches, if you want to call them that, and then build upon that expertise. So some have gone later on to do a MTech in aerospace or MS in aerospace or a PhD in a particular field, and then build those skills. So it's not important. I feel if you can definitely get a good college, you should go for it. But if it's not possible for whatever reason, take the one which best suits your interest. Making a little bit compromise, but wherever you are, try to give your best and understand what are you being taught. And nowadays it's less about the college, the location. The thing have gone so much online. If you go to NPTEL portal, I was just checking it the other day, and this is our own Indian portal where professors from IIT teach, and there's a specific category for aerospace engineers. You can take those lectures for free and understand. Even if you are in a college, say you are doing a mechanical engineering degree and don't have access to aerospace faculties, so you can do that. And once you are interested, once you take that initiative, you can definitely connect with those professor or people, if you have a good background and good motivation and intention. I think people these days are more than open to collaborate and help.
Correct. So if you have the access to internet, I believe you have access to everything. Whatever you want to learn, you're just one click away on that. Yeah. This question bothers me a bit. I think this is coming from Varun. Why it bothers me is, I think Parth you'll be able to understand. It says, do you think that you sacrifice your entertaining moments in past life for achieving success?
Very interesting question, because I think many of us talk about this. Specifically, this comes from people who are preparing in their maybe say 11th and 12th, and then they leave everything for maybe for JEE coaching, and they sacrifice everything. See, I think it depends on what phase of life you are in. Once you are in a job, you have to more or less balance things. Once you are a student, that is your primary duty or job, to study and to focus on the subject. So you put more of your time there. But if you are like totally dedicating everything to it, leaving your personal life and not making a balance out of it, I don't think so it helps. I have seen people who do very well in that atmosphere also, like they leave everything. They are not aware of what's happening around the world, but they are totally into what they are doing, and that brings them fruits. I know a lot of people who are not able to do that, but they balance out life very nicely. They will be playing sports, going out, and whatever entertainment means for everyone, they will do that, and that brings out the best of them in their particular activity. When they go back to studies in the college or in the classes, that brings more sort of energy into that whole craft. So it depends, again, based on individuals. I personally, I don't think so I've sacrificed as such. Definitely I was preparing for JEE in 11th 12th, but mine was more or less a sort of a balanced approach. I do not work very well without having a sort of balance in different aspects of life. So I cannot just be into something and do that continuously for hours and hours. I need to take a break, go for a walk, listen to music, or whatever I can do at that time, and then come back to it. But I think it depends on what phase of life you are in. But if you are in school or college, it should be more on the studies part. You cannot say like, okay, I will watch Netflix for 15 hours and then study for 5 hours. That's all. So you have to see what priority you have to give in a particular phase. When you are work, you definitely balance out things with work. You don't study in that sense, like you would not be studying for 12 hours and then going to job for 8 hours and doing things like that. So it depends on the phase of life, but I think this is being asked by students. So at that level, your main focus should be to understanding your subject and making your craft better.
Correct. So, Varun, if you have chosen to pursue something, right? Let's say you want to become an engineer, or let's say you want to become an aerospace engineering, and if you're pursuing it, the process you are involved into, you cannot compare it, and you cannot say I'm sacrificing a lot of things, right? When you use the word sacrifice, it makes me feel like you've been forced to do that, right? You're just trying to balance out, the process, so you can say I sacrificed Netflix, or I sacrificed Amazon Prime, but you cannot say I sacrificed my education, to achieve, or I sacrificed my education versus entertainment, right? So I think the better question would be, or if you can understand, it's how well you are able to balance your life. And there's nothing such as sacrifice. One, you're giving more priority; to other, you're giving lesser priority, and that's how things work, right? And there will be a days, as Parth said, you would want to walk out, right? Maybe you cannot say, today I sacrificed my studies because I was overwhelmed and I just wanted to go out, right? It's just you're trying to balance things. Yeah.
And you definitely take breaks, like when you go out with your family for a couple of days to a hill station
Yeah.
or to a beach. Those are part of your life. So again, it comes back to balancing things out.
Yeah, correct. And then we have this question which says, every student joins engineering to achieve some sort of thing, but many of them will be distracted from it due to some reasons. Are you one of them? If you are, how you, okay, so were you one of them who were very distracted or was a very unsorted person while you were in your college? Ye bhi karna hai, this also, this also, this also, now all of a sudden something comes up to you and you feel like this is something that I really want to do because this looks very fancy. So how did you balance out those distraction? And the first question is, the primary is, did you come across distraction, or you were very sorted and you were like, this is my goal and I need to go towards it?
No, no. So I was not at all sorted. I think I still am not. There are definitely distractions, things happening here and there, and I would like to get like jump into it to understand what's happening, how it's happening, what can I do about it if I can contribute. So I would not say particularly that I was not distracted. I was definitely distracted. What happens is that, and I think in engineering, and especially if you see in India, there's and also in abroad, there's a lot of things being talked about engineers. Like they study for 4 years and then they go for say an MBA, or they start up, or they do something in a very different field altogether. I think those 4 years of undergraduation for any field, except for say medical, where it is definitely you are like into it with 100% of your energy and interest, and you cannot experiment because this is very noble profession in a way. But otherwise, I think you have a lot of opportunities to explore. So I was involved in lots of extracurricular during my college time. Like most of my time got into it, organizing fest, forming sort of clubs, taking part on those things was a major part of my time in engineering. So yeah, so there were distractions, but at the end of the day, if you are distracted, you give some time, you keep some time out for that distraction. Or suppose I see a new career opportunity, or I suppose right now I see, okay, somebody is doing something else which is quite exciting and fascinating. Give your time, like 30 minutes, 1 hour to study about it, see how you feel. If you feel like yeah, it deserves more of your attention, then bring it into a part of your life in a scheduled way. If it does not, at least you will be satisfied, okay, I tried, I understood what is this all about. But yeah, this is not something I would like to pursue. And this understanding usually comes when you give some more time and get more information about that topic or subject, or for that matter, distraction. So
Got it. So just to add from my side, Kavya, personally, what I felt by being into the college for 4 years was, this was more of a process for me, wherein I was able to figure out the direction for myself, rather than being a hardcore engineer at the end of the day, right? So those 4 years made me enjoy the process, explore, get into different distractions, and finally come out with a path that I want to go in ahead. Yeah. Second thing I would say is, a lot of people, students always say, I really don't have time. I'm stuck with assignments, projects, and all these things. But trust me, the maximum time that you will ever get in your life is this time. That's when you are in the college. Once you come out of the college, you will really struggle to squeeze out and find the time for the things. And then you will realize that I had more time during college and now I have a limited time. So, utilize it to explore as much as you can. Yeah. Moving on to the next. Parminder says, can I get training in rocket propulsion in this pandemic? Up to you, Parth. I'm not sure how is
yeah,
this
that,
related to
that
pandemic.
if this is related to training, like hands-on training, that might be a little challenging on rocket propulsion. But yeah, basic understanding of the subject, and especially if you want to understand propulsion, rocket model, like model rocketry is one of the ways to really go about and see how propulsion actually works, what kind of thrust generates, and all those things. And if you are into the technical aspects, you can definitely do it in this pandemic. I'm not sure in India, like there's a startup called Rocketeers, which do a lot of rocket model rocketry. It's founded by one of my classmates. They're doing a lot of good stuff in that aspect. But I don't know training in the sense what do you mean by training, but if you want to know more about the topic, you can definitely get those things. If you really want to work hands-on, you may have to find some partner. Again, this is related to some other question where somebody was asking about resources in the space sector. So you can figure out, I have mentioned a couple of startups earlier also, Bellatrix, Agnicool, Skyroot, and you can talk to these people if they are happy to have on board people as intern, and you can work with them and then get hands-on experience in that topic and subject.
Nice. A quick question is from Nikit. It says, is there any other way to get into ISTL apart from JW?
No, as of now, I think they just take students from JE only. That's the rule, if I can understand it. Yeah, if you want to do an internship, something of that time, you can directly talk with the professor and then maybe do an internship. But I think for a 4-year degree course, the only way is through JE. It's like as you get into IIT, so same as for ISTL.
Yeah. Okay, so another way I would also add over here is for the people who are watching, there are different ways to work, right? One is, of course, the internship that you usually apply by going onto the career page. Apart from that, if you are working on a specific subject, right, and you happen to come across a professor who's into research and all these things, you can definitely drop them a mail. A lot of time you will get a reply from them and they will ask you to join them, provided you are able to justify what value you're going to be adding at the end, right? So, maybe you drop 100 and 150 mails and you at least get 5 to 10 replies. Okay, but make sure the mail that you're dropping is not like, hey, I want to work with you. I mean, it has a genuine, request and value addition points mentioned, which will help professor understand, where you stand. And knowing about the topic your professor is working, knowing about his expertise is important. You cannot have a generalized mail and can start dropping to everyone and anyone you come across. So figure out who's the person who is into the R&D, who's doing PhD, or whoever is actually into the niche that you're interested into, and drop them a mail. A lot of time you will listen back from them. Yeah. Okay. Another question is from Saransh. He says, please talk about your beliefs and potential of extraterrestrial life and what do you think India with ISRO is doing to have a special team to talk and research about the same.
Okay, so my personal belief is definitely there's extraterrestrial life. I don't have research data or facts to validate that, but I have this intuition sort of thing that there's definitely a higher life or lower life, whatever you want to call, somewhere down there. So, but yeah, this is irrespective of if I was working in ISRO or not. It does not matter. This belief is there from a long time. Regarding what ISRO is doing, I'm not so sure if ISRO is actively pursuing this, because you have to understand why a space agency was set up in India at the first place and what kind of mandate it has been given by the nation, or in that sense by the government to do. So ours is a mostly socio-focused space agency where the satellites, the rockets, or whatever we are doing is for the societal benefits, apart from carrying some R&D work and some intra-terrestrial missions or interplanet missions. So right now, the focus has not been on the part of searching for extraterrestrial life. I think actively, if there is some project which actively is doing it, so I'm not aware, because I'm not part of that group or that center, so I will not be aware of it. But as far as I know from reading in news, as you all would be reading it, I don't think there's active work being done, because this requires a lot of research and a lot of funding. India is not right now, I think, in that place where we can get a lot of funding specifically to do this, because we have a lot of things which we can do for the nation and society and invest there. So the focus and the priority is right now on that part.
Got it. Awesome. So I'm often confused by these two words. I'm not sure, a deja vu and a parallel universe, right? So I'm always struggling out whether it's actually deja vu, or is that it has just been given a name by someone, or is it a parallel universe which exists? And a lot of time there's a conflict between the frequencies of my body and his body, and I keep experiencing those things. So definitely there's a lot of things to be touched upon at this particular time, yeah. And in the future, hopefully, we are going to be seeing a lot of things. Yeah. So I think, Isnia, how you built your self confidence when you feel low. Uh,
So I think the best way to, if you're feeling low, is to distract your mind in one way or the other. I use meditation for that a lot. I sit for meditation and then self contemplation for some time. I write diaries, so that helps me. Keeping a journal really helps me. Talking to friends. For me, long walks have been always a place of solace and like peace. So I go for long walks. I listen to music. There are like umpteen number of things a person can do, and I do like approach a lot of things these days during the pandemic. Like I find a lot of peace and like therapeutic experience in cooking and baking, so I do that also at times. So I think each one to its own, but yeah, the basic idea is to distract your mind so that it does not get into that vicious loop of thinking, overthinking, and then getting lower and lower. And usually, most of the people, talking to someone, a close friend or a family member, helps you. Even if you're not talking about the lowness, just talking out to someone about anything in general also helps you come out of that loop quite quickly.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. So, since Parth has a hard deadline of getting things winded up at 4, so I think I'm going to be asking one question on behalf of every students. Is what is the life lesson, or I would say, uh, let's call it life lesson. What's the life lesson that you want to pass on to your juniors? Because while you are in the process of learning, while you're in the process of exploring the career and all those things, people do come across a lot of challenges. Not just the challenges, this really affects them, in terms of their health, and also, eventually takes them to a place where they end up making the wrong decisions. So they're always struggling with their thoughts, and sometimes they're blaming themselves, and a lot of things that happen. So I hope you're able to correlate with the question that I'm trying to tell you. The sentiment is, what would be a life lesson for you, for the students actually, that you would like to pass on, who are just in the phase of learning engineering and planning to go ahead and make their career?
Uh, so something which I have struggled a lot, and at times I do, is thinking in binary. So most of unfortunately, our education system have been like molded in a way that we start to think about binary. Either it's a success or it's a failure. We sometimes miss the whole thing in between. The learning, and most of the learnings come from that in between portion. So don't think in binary. Like if you apply to 10 jobs and if you don't get any job, it does not mean you are a failure. You try to go back and see what you can learn from those 10 applications, the whole process, what you could learn about yourself, what you can learn about the job market. Is it really what you want to do, or if you're doing it just because the person next to you or your best friend is doing it? Asking those hard questions to yourself. So don't operate in binary. Another is, which I have again faced myself and still trying to improve on, that is a fear of failure. This is sort of a very hard set mentality in many of the Indian students that we have seen, and in my life also I have done that. Like we are so afraid of failure that we stop doing things, like applying to places where we think, okay, this is like, somebody from a tier 2 tier 3 college may not even think of applying to Google just because they think Google is out of reach. But it's not the case. You have to try your best, give your best. The origination of these not applying to any place comes from the point that you are afraid of failure. So try to get over that feeling, and this is like consciously you have to work on that. It does not happen overnight. You have to train your mind for that. So I think these two things, not operating in binary specifically in life, uh, whether it is having health, wealth, your relationships, or your education or your career, try to see what you can get the best out of a particular situation, having a solution oriented mindset whenever you are stuck with anything, whatever opportunity or anything has come to you, how to approach it from a solution based mindset.
Got it. So when someone is applying through a career page of ISRO, are there, I mean, do ISRO also accept on a referral basis?
So ISRO, the thing for referral basis for internship or for
For
jobs?
internship or job, yeah.
Yeah, so job is definitely through the portal. You have to apply. There is no referral from anyone. You have to like submit your application, give your percentage, undergrad percentage, and everything, and then if you're called for an interview, appear for an interview, and then you will get through. For internships, you can directly talk to if you know someone, a particular person who is working in that field. If you can, again, as you were saying about reaching out to professor, you can reach out to those people, write a mail, tell them that this is your intention. This is one way. Another way is that most of the centers have their individual website. On that, if you go, there's definitely a student corner. The email ID mentioned, you can do that. If there are more than 2-3 students coming from your college principal can directly write to the ISRO and ask that our people want to do internship in this particular field and how can they get into it. So that is one more way of getting into it.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much, Parth. Before I wind up, for the people who have these questions, success and failure, and distraction and depression, anxiety, and all these things, just try to understand. Don't make the life so much complex. It's normal to have ups and lows, ups and downs, or highs and lows, right? And this is how life is meant to be. Everything cannot be a picture perfect. Neither you can have a roadmap which will make things look like a picture perfect, right? So it's just normal. Enjoy the process of being a human and just keep exploring. Yeah.
And just understand that everyone else is also going through the same. It's not that only
Yes.
you are having the problems and challenges. Everyone else around you, they may not be showing it, but definitely everyone is going through it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Once again, thank you so much, Parth. I hope you enjoyed answering the questions that the students had, and and thank you so much for squeezing out time specifically on weekends. I know you might be having a busy schedule, but all I can say is thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I always love to interact with people. So that's
Awesome.
no problem. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Parth. Bye. Take care.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.